Welcome to the Mark Attwood Show, Adventures in a Cosmic Suit. It is Friday, the 15th of April. I am now 53 years, 2 days old. Can't believe I'm here. But before I start today's show, please remember to look for the link near this video, wherever you're watching it, and sign up to my email list, because that's the best way of staying in touch with me, because they keep trying to shut me down. A few things to tell you first. Firstly, I took my son to see Steve Hughes last night, comedian Steve Hughes, Australian comedian, the greatest comedian alive right now, following in the footsteps of George Carlin and Bill Hicks. My last paid comedy gig when I was a stand-up was actually with Steve Hughes in Bolton about 4 years ago. And it was great to see him last night in Mullingar. If you're in Ireland, I highly recommend you go and see him. I think there's only 2 more shows left. I'll just share the screen with you. It's his comedyclub.ie. He's on in Carlingford tonight and tomorrow night in Dublin. So if you get a chance, go and see Steve Hughes. Also, something else I've got to tell you about, and that is that he says, looking for the right screen, that is that on the 8th of May in Birmingham, in the UK, not Alabama. Anybody in Alabama? It's not your Birmingham, I'm afraid. But in the UK, there's a very special event going on, which I have talked about on the Telegram channel, which is called the Great Awakening Tour, which Charlie Ward is running. Don't start screaming to me about Charlie Ward, right? I don't listen to any of that bullshit. I take people as I find them, right? And Charlie's always been extremely nice to me, and I think he's taken more flack than anybody in this movement. And it's my chance to meet these people. I've got some amazing people on with Charlie Ward, Simon Parkes, Lucy Davis, David Mahoney, Al Pisoni, Mike Shinson, Catherine Edwards, Tiana Khalid, Elisa David, Ian Rogers, the Hayoka, Andy Feeney, and a live feed with Mel Kay and Alan van der Steel. The evening meal has already sold out, as you can see here, but there's 494 seats available still. You get it from charlieward.tv/tickets/. It's a chance for us all to meet, look each other in the eye. The actual venue is not going to be confirmed. Well, the venue is confirmed, but we're not going to tell anybody what it is until the day before, for obvious reasons. But if you can come to that, it'd be amazing to meet you. And it is my great pleasure to welcome on the show today one of the people who's going to be coming along to this thing in Birmingham, and that is the amazing Lucy Davis. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I am so well, thank you, Mark. And it's so nice. Thanks for inviting me on. I was going to do a show, or I was going to propose a show a long time ago when Claire introduced us, but never got round to it. And I think probably a year's gone past since then. So it's lovely to be on with you.
Well, is it only a year? It seems like about 10 years we've been doing this.
Wow.
But just before the show, I said to Lucy, we met about 7 years ago. She went, did we? And then I said, and she went, oh, yes. So because we kind of were in the similar circles at one point years ago, weren't we?
Wow, yeah. And I'm so glad that you've reminded me of that, because that is a part of my life that I have actually switched out of my brain. So to get that reactivated is really good. And had I known that, I would have been a lot cheekier to you a lot sooner.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought.
I would have been like, hey.
Especially last year, I thought, she must remember me, because, how do you forget Mark Attwood?
No, I feel quite rude, so I apologise first and foremost for that. But it was, like I say, it's just an area of my life I decided to just switch off.
Well, it does feel sometimes that lots of areas of our lives have been switched off, because we're being pulled towards this event, this thing, and trying to live with one foot in business world and one foot in ascension world is very strange, isn't it?
Doing the splits, I think, is a good term at the moment. I literally feel as if I'm doing the box splits constantly, all day, every day, between the paradigm that I prefer to live in and the paradigm that we are being forced to live in at the moment,
Yeah, it is. It's like being a schizophrenic sometimes.
It really is. It is like having bipolar or something, isn't it? And now, thankfully, I guess we can get a little bit of an inner standing around how people feel when they do feel so pulled from which one way to another. Because I've got to be honest, I've always been pretty grounded in whatever I've been doing. Even when I was on the trading floor working, I was grounded in that environment. obviously since then I work much more with people on emotional trauma and ascension now, and I'm grounded in that world. But when we have to kind of like shift and deal with the energies on top of that, it's actually quite full on.
It's super full on. I mean, one of the biggest concerns I had when I started doing this YouTube channel and stuff was like, yeah, my business is going to be ruined, but I've got to take the risk anyway because there's no choice, right?
Yeah.
There's just been no choice about standing up and fighting for freedom. That's the only thing you can do when you know what's going on.
Exactly.
And the kids, obviously, you and I are both driven by the children enormously.
Yeah.
But for people that don't know you, I'm just going to share a little clip because I was really, really proud of you when I saw this clip because obviously I've been stuck in the west of Ireland, and you've been there when all the protests and things have been going on in the UK. And I saw this talk you did. Was it in Oxford?
In January in Oxford, yeah.
Yeah, with Mark Devlin, who's brilliant. I'm going to show this to people.
All right, Lucy is on next.
Hi everyone. Let me just stand up a bit because I'm only little, so I'm going to go up a little bit. Can we all give Mark a massive hand, please, ladies and gents? He's absolutely smashed it. Thanks, Mark. So I'm actually going to carry on from where Mark has just left off, actually. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Lucy Davis. You can't hear me. Is that better? Oh, God. Yeah, okay, no worries. I don't like speaking on microphone. Anyway, my name is Lucy Davis. About 6 or 7 years ago, I started talking about this stuff. Yeah, some of you are going to look at me now and be like, oh God, she's one of them. That's absolutely fine. I'm just going to ask you to go with it for a little while today, okay? I started speaking about this about 6, 7 years ago. Like I say, people thought I was a little bit crazy at the time. And then when all of this started unfolding at the start of 2020, people started saying, okay, what comes next? And this is what we are here for now. It doesn't matter the people that are walking along and doing their shopping and going about their normal business. You guys stood here right now, your soul family. Your soul family. You incarnated this lifetime, whatever your belief system is, to do this that we're doing right now. And I need you guys to remember. I need you guys to trust that we are on a mission together. The most important thing that nobody has spoken about, and I did have to run off to the toilet when Ben was speaking, so he might have done so. I apologise, Ben, if you did. The most important thing that we need to recognise, ladies and gents, is that there is one theme that has continued through the whole of the last 2 years, and that is division. Okay? Today, this, you group, my soul family, our soul family, can we please stop with the division? Whatever people have chosen to do so far, let's allow them to make those choices. Let's allow them to be them. We can help them. We can help heal. We can unite. I promise you, we just need to remember and come back online now, not tomorrow, now, because I love the fact there's so many children here. We're doing it for them. Yeah, we're doing it for them. And we must stop putting ourselves and our own opinions above them. The diamond children that have landed, and there's so many here, I was watching your girls earlier, and I know there's other children here as well. The diamond children know what we're doing. This is nonsense to them. They don't need to know this. This is our generation. The 30s all the way up. It's all of those generations. It's our job to now step in and recognise we were sent here on a mission. We had to have the indoctrination. We had to be emotionally abused. And our brains go through absolute trauma that our kids will never understand. Thank God. This period of time that we're going through right now is going to change the kids. So it's up to us to embody the love. It's up to us to embody the truth, whatever that looks like. If somebody over there thinks that they need to take a couple of these to get through life, so be it. We can bring it back online. We must remember our connection. We are so incredibly important, and most people don't even realise how important they are.
I'm gonna, yeah. Well, yeah, I was welling up watching that, and that's Lucy Davis 2222 on Instagram. Go and watch the whole thing there. You know, I was like, oh, that's Lucy. I know her from years ago. It's just about, I mean, the courage it takes to stand up and speak in front of people about that stuff at events like that cannot be underestimated. So I thank you for doing that, because it's just, this is what we need, and you've stood up to the plate, Lucy.
It makes me emotional watching it back, you know, and I was getting goosebumps, which is a bit weird when you're listening to yourself. But I actually was involved with Freedom for the Children UK back in August 2020. So we did our first protest, and I spoke at that, and it was very much about, you know, the ritual abuse and things like it was very, very focused. And you know, within 2 months, my Facebook account with 36,000 followers had been taken down and just deleted overnight because of being involved in that stuff. And it's a shame, because there was some amazing footage. But unfortunately, I'd stupidly put it all on Facebook rather than having it anywhere else. But you know what? You live and you learn. My passion is about children. And like I said to you before we came on, Mark, I haven't had children this lifetime yet, but I am so focused on making sure that this world is safe. You know, I feel like I'm Mama Bear. I feel like I've been sent down here with this Gaia energy that just channels through me all the freaking time to protect these little people, you know, because they are going to be the ones that take this forwards. It's up to our generation, Mark, to really sift through this shit, sort out our traumas, so that we can almost give them a clean slate to take it forwards. And then we can kick back and enjoy ourselves and have the fruits of our labours. And I really see this taking place. But right now, we have such a destructive world for these kids, you know, and it's tragic. It's absolutely tragic what they are being put through. You know, not only the mind control within the programs, you know, the TV programs, the films that they've got, but the normality that we have created because of emotional, physical abuse that we've allowed that to take place for such a long period of time. You know, and we've got to collapse this stuff now. We've got to get on top of it, and it's our job. It's our generation's job to do this.
Well, let's not forget that we were children as well, and we came through. Well, I certainly did. Came through a lot of abuse, and this system. And once you understand just how evil this system has been on us, once you see that at our age, right? There's no. This is the thing. This is the thing. It's like I cannot stand another second of this. A child going through another second of this is just not. It's not negotiable. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, but I see it all around me. You know, one of my daughters got Tourette's last year because of the psychological effect of all of this stuff. And you know, and you try really hard as a parent. I've got 5 kids, just to try to protect them, but it's just impossible. It's impossible for them to not have these. It's impossible for them to not go online. It's been extremely difficult to keep them out of school, although I did manage to do that with my eldest one, and to keep them away from abusive people, you know. But this is where we're at, and I'm 100% behind everything that you just said. This is what we've got to do.
Yeah, it really is. And you know what, Mark, like, I was abused heavily when I first started speaking out about this stuff. I remember a really good friend of mine, she messaged me and she said, "You truly believe this?" And I said, "I truly believe it with every cell in my body." And that was it. She blocked me, you know, and I've never spoken to her since. But I've actually learned a new level of resilience through this, you know, and like I said to you just before we came on air, actually, like I don't really take much abuse these days. I don't really get any of it because, you know, people have heard what I've been saying for such a long period of time, and my message hasn't changed. You know, I was waking people up in the beginning because that's what we needed, but it's always been about a higher level of consciousness. It's always been about going to a better place, a better world, a better situation for us and our families, you know. But back in the early days, I took so much abuse. And, you know, I used to work on the trading floor for JP Morgan and UBS and people like that. So you can imagine the shit that used to get thrown at me on a day-to-day basis. You know, like it was so abusive. I remember walking across the trading floor, like in my early days of being on there, And this guy literally was just like, oi, legs, to me, you know, and okay, it's a different level of abuse, but it thank God it set me up to be resilient. But this awakening, this process that we're going through at the moment, this cleansing on the planet that we're going through, has given me a level of resilience I never thought I would have. I never thought I would have this energy within me that I would, like I said to you before, you know, I would fight anyone for the kids.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah, I mean,
just,
I was watching a George Carlin video the other day, when he was talking about germ theory, and this is from 20 years ago, right? And he's just talking about when we were kids, we used to go swimming in the river, and it was full of sewage because we were tempered in raw shit. And I was like, is this idea of being tempered? I think that's what this spiritual quarantine period's been all about. It's been about how strong are you? How much can you take? And sometimes I felt like giving up sometimes. And every single thing that's been thrown at us has just been to get us to the point where we can withstand it, because it's totally spiritual. The whole thing is full on. And how do you explain that to somebody who doesn't understand that? That's been the hard part.
yes.
Because most people are viewing everything in 3D or watching what's on the BBC or whatever, and I'm just so not in that world. It's bizarre.
It's so lovely that so many people aren't in that world anymore. It's interesting, Mark, because when I was out running this morning, I kept getting this, no matter what, we have to stay in the light. And that's what people like us have been put on the planet, and many, many other people. But we've been placed strategically around the world, you know, and I refer to this to like my followers and people that do my programs and stuff as a grid. We are literally a light bulb on a grid. And we've all been divinely placed around the world for this now moment. And like you said, we've absolutely been battered and beaten to see if we can withstand the storm. And the truth of the matter is, it's now going forwards for the next few months, the people that are going to prove that they can withstand the storm. And of course, they will be the ones to help lead us forwards into the new generation or whatever it is.
I'm getting the truth vibrations as you're speaking. Yeah, I'm going to tell you a little story. It was about, when was it? It was about 10 years ago. I got an email from somebody who said, I've been told by God to come and see you. And I was like, well, that's too interesting to not.
I definitely need to speak to you. You've got my attention. Let's go.
Then these two women drove from Devon to Manchester just to meet me. And I met them in a local hotel, and I sat and listened to them. And they were talking about the fact, this is the first time I'd come across this idea. They said, listen, we're moving to Spain because that's where we're supposed to be. My husband's been activating the crystal skulls around the planet for the last 5 years. This woman's a witch and she's here to protect you. And I was like, sat there going,
what is this?
yeah, I was just like, okay. And then she said, you're going to find out where you're supposed to be at the right time. And then I was like, well, you know, I'm going to Marrakesh. I'm moving to Marrakesh, and then move to Marrakesh, then move to Ireland, and then the shit really hit the fan with me, and then I felt like giving up on life, and then somehow got through that, and then it dawned on me one day, that's what I'm doing. I'm here. I'm holding light. And it took me a while to realize it, because it feels like you can't say that because it sounds egotistical, but it isn't. That's exactly what's been going on. And then I've met all these other light keepers all around the world, and we've all got our personal crap going on, as well as the spiritual attacks, as well as still trying to pay the bills and bring up the children and do all of this other stuff. But essentially, that's what it is. And we've all been, so many people that I've met are in places where they didn't expect to be. You know, and it all makes sense. That conversation 10 years ago makes complete sense now.
And isn't it beautiful how normalized it's become in just 10 years? So
yeah, well,
think about what's going to be okay in 10 years time. You know, like it's so powerful when you actually have those milestones that you know, it's a 10-year marker, and here you are, and for the last however many years you've been really anchoring in that light and being comfortable with that. You know, whereas 10 years ago, it was like, well, this is a bit weird. This is a little bit too much for me. You know?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm comfortable with it. It still freaks me out.
Come on. Come on.
It still overwhelms me sometimes. But this was the amazing thing about the comedy gig I went to last night, because everybody in that room was awake to some degree. I mean, at the very least, they all knew that everything the government says is shite, right?
Yeah.
And then there was an amazing comedian that put the whole thing together called Aidan, who an Irish warrior, an absolute diamond. And I've actually bumped into him 3 times in the last year. And I did a performance with at the same house as him. I was doing some poetry and he did this show inside somebody's house when the lockdowns were on. So it was all proper underground stuff.
Yeah.
And he's the one who pulled Steve Hughes in. Now, Steve Hughes was talking about Illuminati stuff 25 years ago, and an absolute legend of a comedian, right? And seen him last night, and I was just looking around, and we were talking openly about this being bullshit and that being bullshit and the TV and everything else. And I was like, this is a big seed.
Yeah.
You know, because even a year ago we had to hide in people's houses. Now we're in a comedy club, and this has been because a lot of these comedians that are awake have been banned. You know, Alistair Williams in the UK, he can't get a gig in a comedy club because they're all woke.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not pushing the message, you can't get on stage. So this was an amazing thing, and I was thinking, well, this is today. What's it going to be like in a year? Because this is unstoppable. This is going to take over, because as people wake up, they're going to seek out people that knew what was going on before and say, tell me everything you know.
Yeah, exactly. And how exciting is it that we are at that point? You know, I channeled the energy for April a few weeks ago, and everything, it was just these waves of awakening are coming. Nothing can stop it now. You know, these absolute, almost like tsunamis of people are going to start waking up. Even people that were so fast asleep, like people don't have another option anymore. And we're going to see that over like the next 8 weeks of just constant people elevating, you know, which is why, Mark, when you get your moments of, oh my God, this is weird, like we need to anchor that light in constantly so that people know how to find us, because we are the lighthouses.
Yeah, and this is why we're doing this thing in Birmingham, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited for that.
I am. It's going to be an amazing event. I mean, there are divisions within this movement, right? And there's like a lot of bitching goes on, and this person's infiltrated, that person's bad, and that's one of the things I've had to be most resilient about.
Yeah.
Is like, who do you trust? I put it in one of my first poems. Hubba, hubba, hubba. Who do you trust?
Yeah.
Which is actually a Jack Nicholson line from Batman, but
who cares?
Hubba, hubba, hubba. Who do you trust? This town needs an enema. Obviously, I watched Batman a few times when I was a kid.
Just a couple.
But it's been really that's been one of the hardest parts for me, is like, who do you trust? Because there's some amazing people. There's people doing amazing things, and Charlie in particular, the crap that people came out with about him, and it was all 2 and 2 equals 5. And then if I mention his name, I get absolutely hammered with abuse.
I was laughing actually when you were doing your intro, because I get abused as well. The only time I ever get abused these days is when I mention Charlie's name. And like, I don't get it. I physically met Charlie in person, and I don't get it. Like, do I believe everything that Charlie says? No, I tell him all the time, you know, like, I don't agree with that, or I don't resonate with that. But that doesn't mean you don't have to, like, you have to hate somebody or really strongly dislike somebody. Like, to me, that doesn't make sense.
Me neither. I mean, he's done some right gaffes, right?
Yeah.
And I've told him, because I think he just shoots from the hip, and he's from a generation which speaks a certain way that rubs people up. But all that DJ stuff, that was all lies, right? And I decided to stand by him because he's sound as a pound.
Yeah.
And he's done more for waking ordinary people up, right? I bump into people who say, well, Charlie Ward says this, Charlie Ward says that. And I'm like, this is good. This is good, because you are now more aware of stuff you weren't aware of before. And I think he was chosen. I think we've all been chosen, but I think he was chosen because he's got a particularly hard shell.
Yes.
Because it is like water off a duck's back. I mean, the level of abuse and awful things people said to him about him are beyond belief. So I'm going, and out of all the other people, I've met Alpa and I've met you in the past, but I've never met anybody else.
No. Oh, that's interesting. That's
So
interesting.
I want to meet everybody.
It'll be good for you then to actually, because it's different when you meet people physically and you can actually connect and hug each other, and you do pick up on their vibration very much so. So I've met Michelle Fielding, and I've obviously met Alpa, and Nicholas I've met, but I don't think he's coming actually, is he?
I don't know, is he not?
No, I don't think so. Obviously I've met Charlie as well, and I've met Elise and David. So I've met a few of them, but mainly through Charlie, though. Do you get what I mean? Like, obviously, Charlie had his party at Christmas, and I went to that, and I just want to say about Charlie, he has done more than anybody else, and the thing that I find quite sad is that it's the people that don't tend to be doing anything, or at least it's perceived that they're not doing anything, that slate the most. And what I just ask people to do is, if I piss you off, if I trigger you, look at yourself where that is within you, because that's the whole point of being a human being. So if Charlie annoys you, ask yourself what it is. What is it in Charlie that annoys you? Trust me, it'll be in yourself. So, yeah. And imagine if we could just get everybody around the world just recognizing, oh, Mark said that word, it really annoyed me. Why did it annoy me? Oh, yeah, because I used to use that word and I got told off for it, or what, and we just imagine how quickly we would evolve. Imagine how quickly the whole world would wake up if we could just grasp that really simple concept.
Well, that's what I liked about you talking in that speech about division, right? That's the thing that's got to end.
Yes.
The problem is when you get a group of human beings, it doesn't matter how enlightened they are, they're going to fall out with each other. They're going to have ups and downs and ins and outs, but that's just part of it. And you and I have worked in business for a very long time. I've employed hundreds of people. You've been in big organizations. Having the skill to understand that people will fall out and things like that it's a major leadership skill that is required right now, and we've just got to put all this stuff aside. I also, during this process, I've been doing a lot of poetry, right? And some of my poems are, I'm not saying they're any good, but I'm just saying some of them are very nicely written, very nicely produced. Others have got me swearing and saying C words and F words and things like that. And some people get triggered by those, and then like,
of course.
But the truth is, I was told to write those.
Yeah. and you're bang on, right? We are divinely picked. Every single one of us have been divinely picked to be on this planet right now. Everybody, even the people that are doing nothing, the people that are doing loads, we've all been divinely picked. I've been told off before. Girls shouldn't swear, Lucy. When I speak on stage and I drop the F-bomb, and I get told off for it. But a bit like what you were just saying, if that word wasn't supposed to come out of my mouth at that time, it wouldn't. It's not the fact that I'm a potty-mouthed woman. Trust me, I used to be when I was on the trading floor, because I had to get through. But generally, I'm not. I don't have a potty mouth, and when it comes out of my mouth, I'm like, wow. Obviously, they needed the impact of that word to trigger them or to give them the activation, because that's one of the gifts I've got this lifetime. Is I work very much on the quantum level, and I get activations, and they come out as I speak. So yeah. A lot of people will be like, oh my God, every time you speak, I just get goosebumps all over me. And a bit like what you say, it's the truth vibration. It's activation codes that are coming. They're not my words. They're not my words. They get given to me, and I just open my mouth and they come through me. And this is my gift. Whereas other people like yourself, you write it or you speak it through poetry. Other people will take photographs and they'll just capture the most amazing things, and that will be their gift to activate the world. Yeah,
and I've said many times, nobody's greater than anybody else. We're all equal. Where we go one, we go all. This is one love, one consciousness. All of that stuff is true, and all this process that we're going through is just getting as many people on the same page as possible so that we can go through the shift.
Yeah, and just going back to your point around division, we can have different opinions.
Yeah,
and still get on.
Yeah.
And I actually think Charlie is a really good example of that, because I often say to him, no, don't resonate with that. No, don't like that. Why are you doing that? And he's just like, well, you know, and me and him will never fall out. Like, we get on really well. So I think everybody just needs to recognize why they feel like, what is it, the need that's being met by having to be right? Because who decides what's right and wrong? From everybody's perspective, we're right.
Yeah. Well, I've never been bogged down with this thing about being right. So, you know, I've interviewed some people on this show that come out with stuff that is really challenging, you know, really challenging to me sometimes. And I also interview people that disagree with other people that I've interviewed on the show, because I think it's all valid. And it's all valid and it's all balanced. And nobody that I've met has the whole picture, right? There's lots of insights that you get. If I get one golden nugget out of a 1 hour chat with somebody, then I feel like I've done a good job. And if we've entertained people on the way a little bit, because I think laughter is the key to this, and keeping it light and frothy, because it is very heavy if you let it get heavy.
Yeah.
And that's also been difficult as well, because, you know, I did a lot of videos last year when I might have been a bit over the top or silly, or take my top off or do silly voices or whatever, just to chivvy people along. And it doesn't mean that I'm taking what's happening to the children lightly. It means that I'm saying we've got to keep lighthearted as we go through this, because that's how you fizz through the water.
Exactly. And actually, that is our job, Mark. You know, we are the light, so we have to make sure that we keep our vibration in a certain way. And I truly believe that when you go through your awakening journey, life does become very serious. You forget how to laugh, you forget how to have fun, because you're so focused on, you know, this new path that you found, that everything else, you know what it's like when you get your head down going for promotion or something, you're just so laser focused that you forget about taking some time out, having a bit of a giggle, you know, going out with your friends, like watching them, like you forget about all of that stuff. And this is why it's so important. Like I have quite a lot of banter with people. I love laughing. It's my favorite thing. And, you know, I've been at massive conferences laughing my head off, and they'll literally stop it and be like, whose laugh is that? Because my laugh is so contagious.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important. We must allow people to feel that vibration and know that it's okay.
Yeah. Well, I listened to Laurie Ladd the other day, and she channeled King Arthur.
Oh,
and
wow.
King Arthur said, "You need to belly laugh more, you miserable fuckers." And I was like, well, that's good. And I was like, well, that's good timing, because I'm going to a comedy gig tonight. And then I went and I belly laughed. And I woke up this morning and I was like, why does my stomach feel like I've been working out? And I was like, oh, I laughed like a drain for 2 hours last night. And anybody watching this who's a comedian or likes comedy, go and find the good comedians. Go and watch Steve Hughes. Support these guys, because they've also, all the comedians, musicians, everybody got closed down by this bullshit over the last 2 years. They couldn't even earn a living.
Yeah.
You know, and I know a lot of them are woke, so don't go see them. Go and see the ones that demand the good ones, because there are some amazing artists out there. And I've said since the beginning, comedy, music, poetry, art, all of it. That's what we need, because the devil fucking hates it. He hates they hate creativity. That's why they've tried to control the arts with funding, right? All this time, because that's how they created all that demonic Damien Hirst type shit, right? And that's what we've got to get away from. We've got to get back to natural beauty, natural fun, natural comedy, natural food. Everything's going to be natural, right? So we have to vote with our dollars, right?
And what I find really interesting is, you know, just on the arts, look at how many, you know, celebrities, pop stars and whatever, they've been corrupted to keep us low vibration, put out the lower vibrational frequencies. You know what it's like when you listen to something which has got a really beautiful frequency that works in alignment with your body. You're like flying afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, you're absolutely flying, rather than sometimes you listen to music. I mean, even as a kid, I used to get really repelled by certain music because it was so heavy.
Me too.
And you know, we've been getting the signs through the whole of our life, right?
Well, you know, I'm just going to, Steve Hughes was going on last night, because he was a heavy metal drummer originally, and he had a Motorhead t-shirt on last night, and he's 55 now, and he was going on about how he likes Enya, right? Because we need more Enya, unless Marilyn Manson.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I don't know if you've ever seen this website. I'm just going to share this quickly. This is a website. Everybody should go and refer to this website at least once in their life. It's called Vigilant Citizen, which is an amazing resource that shows you the symbolism in music, in architecture, in movies, in TV. You know, go and have a really good look at this and try to get your knowledge up on symbolism, because you and I were talking before the show about, I was talking about the demonic frequencies in London when I was working there, and how I suddenly started seeing it everywhere. You know, even the pub out in Camden's called the Camden Eye, and it's all Luciferian, and the Hampstead kids from Hampstead next door to Camden, the symbolism baked into the architecture. Even the London Underground symbol is Saturn, right? And that's got a frequency, and that's going in, and then we're creating the world that they want based upon the inputs that they're putting in that we don't even know that they're putting in.
Exactly.
And that's the thing we have to break free of. That's how the matrix stays together, by keeping us in that low vibrational thing, feeding on the loosh, sucking on the loosh. I mean, where are all these Ukrainian flags coming from? I mean, it's like somebody knew this was coming, because suddenly
Yeah.
they're
Ship them in, especially.
by the way, I'm in Ukrainian colours again, accidentally. And my logo's in this. Damn.
You're doing your bit for the team, hey?
Yeah. I'm taking one for you.
What I find really interesting, Mark, and again, this is probably going to trigger people, to be honest with you, but what I find a lot is that people have become, because of what's gone on over the last 2 years, people have become quite opinionated on certain things, like, you know, satanic rituals and those kind of things. But when you bring it into their consciousness around the symbols in the underground sign, for example, really good one that you gave, oh, no, that's not it. And it's almost like we've gone through one level of utilizing our discernment and one level of, cognitive dissonance. And now it's really about bringing everything up, because the symbols are everywhere, aren't they?
They're everywhere.
Absolutely everywhere. And this is stuff that we and our children are digesting every single day of our lives. And we just accept it. We just accept that it's the norm. But actually, it's mind controlling us and programming us subliminally.
Yeah. All of it is. That's why that Vigilant Citizen site's good. I found that about 10 years ago, and the strapline is "Symbols rule the world," and we really need to understand this. I mean, even down to company logos, right? They've all. I mean, I looked into this years ago. If anybody doesn't believe that the underground is based on Saturn, just have to go to Google's telling you. Look, this is from an art exhibition about the London Underground back in 1938. You know, it's all there. All you've got to do is go and look.
But that's the thing, Mark. Most people won't go and look. They'll wait for somebody to say, and then they'll go, no, that's not true. But they won't actually go and do the research before they challenge it.
Well, this is why the road back to sovereignty is quite tough. I've noticed it myself 4 years ago when I lost most of the perceived things that I thought I had. I'd had a PA for so long, I didn't even know how to book a plane ticket.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I'd washed up in 10 years. Stuff like that, right? And I suddenly had to do all this, and I found it really difficult. And then when I started my Monetize What's Already in Your Head course last year, I did it in a way where I didn't show people how to use the software. I just said, you need to use it, and this is the objective. And it was tough, and people were going, how do I do this? And how do I access the course? And I was like, no, what you need to start learning how to feed yourself, because we've all lost this ability. It's like that. What was that film? There was a Pixar film about 10 years ago with really fat people on a spaceship, and there's Wall-E, the little robot, and the people couldn't walk. They hadn't had to walk for so long, and it was like, we're so flabby as a race now, and these things, obviously.
Yeah. What's really interesting, Mark, is I literally did a Instagram live video maybe yesterday on using your own initiative, because I have got to the point now where it doesn't frustrate me, but people ask me the same questions, and I'm like, get a grip. Like, how do you think I figured this out? I had to go and figure it out on my own. Like, come on, people, how are we going to break out of this matrix unless we use, first and foremost, bring common sense back to the norm? I mean, I'm shocked at how few people have common sense these days. Get off your arse and use your own initiative. And the third thing, bring intuition back online.
Yeah.
Trust yourself, allow yourself to feed into that. You know, since I left corporate in 2017, I have lived 100% on my intuition. Has it got me in trouble sometimes? Absolutely, yes. But predominantly, it has led me down a path of absolute gold. Imagine a world if people were, you know, this laziness that has been inbuilt in people because of the mind control, because of the systems, because of the symbols, because of the music, because of the food and the skies and everything else. If we could just bring our, get rid of our laziness and bring our initiative back online, like, the world would be out of this mess in a lot quicker time.
Like that.
Yeah, it would be so quick. Like, common sense to me, I've never studied for an exam in my life. I'm very lucky. I've done very well in my life. I got really good grades considering how freaking lazy I was. But I'm very gifted with common sense. Like, I'm very logical. For a woman especially, I'm extremely logical. However, I'm speaking to a lot of people that are, yeah, but my book doesn't tell me that. My book doesn't say that. And intellect,
fuck the book.
Yeah, well, exactly. Burn the book.
Burn the book.
Not all of them, because there's some good ones.
There's some good ones. But I know I was just saying, my dad, all I remember every day, use your common sense, use your common sense, use your common sense. And I'd be like, what are you talking about, common sense? And I had no idea what he was talking about. But they've deliberately bred it out of us, you know?
Yeah.
It's all been bred out of us. It's like even when they brought calculators into school in the 80s for maths, even then I knew, I was like, I'm not going to use this because otherwise I'm not using my brain.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, though, Mark, is I do truly believe it's a choice. People choose to be lazy. People choose to lose their common sense. People choose, you know, and again, it triggers the heck out of people. But I believe every single time I messed up with my life, it was my choice to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got to own it. This is the only way that we're going to get free from this matrix, is by saying, do you know what? It was me. It wasn't you. Like, I can't blame you for the relationship breaking down. I have to take ownership of myself, because the only thing that I can control is myself. So if I take ownership of my bit, that person takes ownership of their bit, then, wow, we're changing the paradigm that we live in.
Absolutely. And that's why all of these situations happen to us, because we're creating them in order to teach ourselves the thing that we need to learn.
Exactly. They're happening for us.
Yes.
Everything is happening for us in this life. And if we could clean up our thoughts and then mirror our thoughts with our actions, imagine.
Well, wonderfully put. We're going to have to do more shows, because I've got this appointment with the government.
Right. It's lovely to speak with you anyway.
Yeah, well, you know, this is about the second time today. You're probably sick of my face, but
well, and I've got another call with you later.
Oh yeah, we've got a call about the show.
Mark Overload today, everyone. Mark Overload, can't get enough.
Overload. Yeah. That was brilliant to speak to you. Thanks. Where can people follow you apart from the Instagram?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram. I've got a YouTube channel, but you can go to my Instagram channel, and then there's a bio in there, and you can find me. So pretty easy.
I never got into the Instagram thing. I've got one, but I could never use the app, so I just
never. I didn't use Instagram until Facebook closed me down, and then I was like, "Screw you, faceache! I'm not going to use you anymore." And so I went onto Instagram, but which is
owned by Facebook.
I know.
I've not been on.
Just as bad, isn't it? All of them are just as bad.
4 months, no Facebook. It's like coming off of heroin. It's brilliant.
Yeah, well, that's how I felt at first. I was kind of like clucking a little bit. You know, At first I was like, oh yeah, this is nice. Then I kind of went through this withdrawal thing, and then I was like, I never want a Facebook account again. And they wouldn't actually give me one. My friend set it up for me just so that I could get in a group, because I've got a group on there called Self Love Club with Lucy Davis, where I just help people with their spiritual awakening. Completely free group. Everything in there is free. And I had like 2,000-3,000 people in there that were kind of like pining for me to go back. So I just created an account just to be able to get back in there and work with those people. So
cool. Well, you carry on with what you're doing. I'll see you later. Everybody, thanks for watching. I'll get Lucy
Thanks
back.
for
And we'll get
watching.
deep into this stuff.
Thanks
Take
for
it
having
easy.
me.
See you later, alligator.
Lots of love, guys.